Welcome back. Well, of course, the Prime Minister was just in Washington for the FIFA World Cup draw, and while he was there, he met with the President of Mexico, had a brief exchange with U.S. President Donald Trump that was caught on camera, a chat more than anything substantive, really. Joining us tonight, we haven't had him on in a while, CTV U.S. political analyst Eric Ham in Washington. I apologize for that, Eric. It's good to see you.
It's good to be with you always. Thanks so much for having me.
Look, we've seen some pleasantries between Mr. Carney and Mr. Trump of late. Not much more beyond that, but at a gala at the Kennedy Center, the president was asked what he thought about possible discussions with Canada, and he seemed fairly open, you know, to suggesting, oh, maybe we can get something done. Is there anything to that, or are we just, again, on the treadmill?
No, I think you're still very much on the treadmill. And also, too, now that we know that the CUSMA negotiations are coming up in earnest in 2026, I think there's a very real possibility that you could actually get off this treadmill, because we're still hearing from a number of Trump insiders, including the U.S. Trade Representative, who, as we know, last week held the first of a series of public hearings on the CUSMA agreement. And so we know that they heard from a number of different people, from academic individuals to trade representatives to businesses and farmers and the like. And while everyone is certainly singing their praises of CUSMA, it is still going to ultimately come down to the president's decision whether or not he actually wants this agreement to stand. And while we do know that the president continues to sing the praises of Prime Minister Carney personally, Donald Trump still does not have a level of camaraderie or affection or even reverence for the relationship between the United States and Canada. And it's still not a given that he will actually keep this agreement intact.
Well, and in fact, he's been, I guess, rather coy about that, but saying, yeah, maybe I won't want that. Maybe I'll want to have individual deals with Mexico and Canada. And, you know, he's even brought up that type of thing about the EU and how the EU should be disbanded so he can have individual trading agreements with those countries. So Canadians in that negotiating team are asking the general public here to be patient. It seems like some American companies, though, you kind of alluded to it, are losing their patience a bit with the White House. It was certainly Home Depot was the, you know, sort of the banner holder for that.
Well, I think we need to be clear about something. It's not that many of these companies are actually saying, you know, upset with the White House. It's just that they're now at a place and a point where they're finally actually going public with their frustration and what they have been feeling now for a year. If you take companies like Ford Motor Company, for example, they have literally just had to eat the cost to the tune of nearly $2 billion. And that is money that they have until now been withholding so as not to pass these massive costs of tariffs onto consumers. And so businesses are hurting right now. But again, the last thing that any of these companies want to have to undergo is the wrath of Donald Trump. And so that's why you have seen them continue to bite their tongue. But I think we're now reaching a point where, as the economy continues to falter, they are becoming not only increasingly more frustrated, but now they're actually reaching a level where they're also beginning to speak out. And it's not just the business community, but also we know many within Donald Trump's own party, many Republican lawmakers are also feeling the exact same way.
Okay, so fast forward to November, the all-important midterms. You know, do you suspect, or is there talk that maybe he will soften on the trade stance if the economy doesn't make a significant turn in his favor?
Yeah, and we've already begun to see some efforts by the president with capitulation on some tariffs as it relates to food prices. And we know that 180 came, of course, after some of these special elections where Republicans just took a drubbing up and down the field. And now I think as we see, and we're told that as many as 20 Republicans, House lawmakers, could actually leave even before the midterm elections. So we could actually see a Democrat become the Speaker of the House even before the first ballot is cast. And so if those numbers continue to go down and Donald Trump's approval rating continues to falter, we could actually see the president aggressively do a U-turn, not just on some of these tariffs, but all. But does that mean that somehow the Kuzma agreement is safe? This is still Donald Trump we're talking about, and we know how mercurial and unpredictable he can be.
Well, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia certainly didn't help the president last night. She appeared on 60 Minutes with its 10 million viewers, and she leaves what? She leaves the first week of January, and she suggested that there are many like her who are not on board with the president anymore and could cause him some trouble.
Yeah, that's right. And she is, of course, one of those who many think will open the floodgates to a number of people leaving. And we have already heard from a number of Republicans, both in the Senate and the House, who have announced they're not running for re-election or they're simply retiring. That's the first group of people who are leaving. Certainly Marjorie Taylor Greene, one of Donald Trump's most loyal and ardent foot soldiers, who has said she will just leave before her term is up. Now the question becomes, how many more are actually going to follow her out the door? Because, again, they're growing increasingly frustrated and concerned that Donald Trump continues to treat them as if they don't have power and that they're lapdogs who are simply there to just do the bidding of the president.
Before I let you go, and I'll bring this back to trade, there have been some rumblings, of course, nothing solid, but do you think we'll see the Prime Minister banging on the door of the White House once again here in the next couple of months?
I don't know, because, again, Prime Minister Carney has been very, very busy racking up agreements and deals. And I think what we're seeing here is a prime minister as well as a country who recognizes that the United States is no longer a reliable partner, which is why we're seeing Canada create so many deals above and beyond the United States. And so I think what we're seeing here is there is a both and strategy working to try to maintain agreements and alliances with the United States, but also recognizing that that opportunity may have already left the station, and so looking for ways to actually bolster its economy and continue its growth above and beyond the United States.
Eric Ham, our eyes and ears inside the Beltway. It's good to see you. Thanks a lot.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
We'll take a break. We'll be back with much more of your newscast after this.